So with the headshot, there is so many things you can do, and you actually build on the style of lighting. So using daylight is going to give you a much softer look. It's going to give you a softer look to the skin, and the light itself, depending on where you select it, is also going to be softer. Now, indoors, where you've got bright light outside streaming in through large windows, is going to give you, firstly, beautiful catch lights in the eyes. So whatever's reflecting into the eyes, where the light source is that's what's giving you the catch lights. So I always look for the good light over the location. So I found massive windows here, and they're going to pump the light in here. It's flat, it's soft light, and the way you can tell the difference is just have a look, put your hands up and have a look at what it's doing. If you put your hand down over the ground, there are no shadows. It's soft, beautiful lighting. Now, if it was a different time of the day and the sun was in a different part of the sky, streaming sunlight in, hard light, and I put my hands here, and we can simulate it with the light. We'll just turn the ring light on and turn it on. If we had sunlight coming in, and then you look at the quality of the light, it's different, all right? And you can see that it causes shadows. Okay, so you've got to be really careful how you position someone when you're shooting with sunlight. So if you're starting out, first headshots, start with a really soft lighting, get your skills right at connecting with the model, and then build from there. So I'm going to work with a nice soft light. It's beautiful skin tones, and then the way that you can add edge is the way you select your f-stop. So if I've got a combination of very soft light with a wide open aperture, I'm going to have a shallow depth of field, so it actually gives a really nice creamy tone to the skin tones, because you're going to be focusing on the eyes, and what you'll find is the skin tone, the skin will be just starting to drop out of focus, so it's like it's not every single pore is super sharp. So that is a really flattering way to set someone up, light them for a headshot, and then whatever's in the background is going to gradually drop out of focus. So it's good to work with very long lenses, shallow depth of field, and soft light is a good combination for a flattering headshot. All right, so we've got a light meter, and this is the one thing that will save your life on any photography shoot. The camera has a built-in light meter, and it's good. It's actually really good, but there are several instances where the camera light meter gets it wrong. So if you're shooting and you've got a very bright background behind your model, the camera meter sees the bright lights and cacks itself. It doesn't know what to do. It'll overexpose your image because it'll underexpose your image because it thinks there's too much light. So it takes a reading based on how much light is in the entire frame, does a calculation, and gives you an average. So if you've got a model against a background that's very brightly lit, your camera is going to think it's too bright, and it's going to give you a reading that is a lot less than you actually need. If you put your model in front of a black background, the camera will look at that background and think, it's very dark, we need to brighten this shot up, and it'll give you a reading that's overexposed. So the light meter saves you. It makes your life a lot faster and easier when you're on set. And another thing is, if you've got a model on set and you're sitting there with your camera and you're trying to work out what the exposure is, the shoot scenario looks something like, yeah, no, hang on, no, that's not right, this is right, let's get, and you're constantly chimping away at the flash. So you're taking a frame, having a look, working it out, doing another one, checking. Meanwhile, your poor model is on set wondering, do you know what you're doing? When you've got a light meter, you can actually get it in one go. You can get up there, take a light reading, know that the skin tone is going to be correct according to the light meter, and get the actual light that is hitting the model's face. When you take a reading with your camera meter, the camera meter is reading the light that is bouncing off the model. It's reflected light. Light meter light is actual light, and that's the big difference. So when you use a light meter, you're not having to compensate for the reflected light. So save yourself all the trouble and get a light meter. Okay, so if you're setting up a daylight shot, to use the light meter, this is the Minolta 4. It is probably 30 years old. It's like an old Ford or an old Holden, it goes forever. There are basic models like this. It's all you need. Now, there are better light meters around that will also read the colour temperature as well as the light, and they make your coffee for you and things like that. You don't need to go to that level. A basic light meter will do you okay. So to use the light meter to check ambient lighting, what you want to do is you dial in your ISO. So I'm shooting at 400 on my camera, and I want to have a shutter speed of 1/125th. I'm going to set my light meter to ambient light because that's what I'm reading. I'm reading the ambient light in the room, and then all I do is, this is what reads the light, this little dome here. So I face that in front of my model's face because that's the area that is most important to me. Little button on the side, hold it down, and that tells me that the setting is just under f2.8 for this shot if I want to get the actual correct light for this shot. It's that simple. So that's with ambient light. Now, what if I want to add some flash to the shot? When I'm working with flash, what I like to do is the first step is to make sure that my background, the ambient light, is right. So I take a reading and I've set 1/125th of a second, f2.8 at 400 ISO is my base setting. So I'll take a shot of that, and then I'm going to add flash just to my model's face. Okay, to add light using a speed light and to take a reading, what I'm going to do is I've got my speed light on my portable beauty dish. Okay, now this could be an octobox, a softbox, it doesn't matter. What I want you to focus on is the fact that I'm using a speed light off camera. Now, the way my speed light talks to my camera is, and the way that I can trigger it is via a remote. All right, now there's numerous ways that you can do this. I could have a cord running from and in fact the most old school way is to have a cord running from my camera to the speed light. The other way is you can have remote triggers. So I've got one on the camera and one on the speed light. There's heaps of different brands you can buy from less than $20 to hundreds of dollars. And then you've also, each brand of speed light will have its own dedicated trigger. The reason I love this style is because I can put this on my camera and I control the power of the flash from my camera. So I don't have to keep leaving the camera, going to the light and changing the settings. I can do it all from here, which is really handy. So basically, you sync the two, the transceiver, like the master and the flash together, and you can then control the flash from the camera, which is really handy. Okay, so that's how they're talking to each other. Let's work out how to actually get the correct reading when I'm working with flash. Okay, so I'm ready to take a reading. I've got my light meter. Now, before, when I set my ambient light, I needed to tell my flash light meter that I'm reading ambient light. Now, I need to tell my flash meter that I'm reading flash. So what I do is I change my mode from ambient to non-chord, all right? And in this particular model, and every model is going to be different, but in this particular model, I set it, and the little non-chord there is going to flash on and off. And then all I do is, again, I'm bringing it to where I want lit, holding that dome in front of my model's face, and then I'm setting it off, which we can't do, can we? Because, can you just fire that? Yep. All right, and that's going to give me a reading. Now, my initial ambient reading was f2.8 at 1/125th of a second. I started with my speed light set at half power, so half of its power. And when I took a reading, I got a f11.5. Now, let me show you what that looks like as a shot, because it's a bit, you'll find it's a bit too powerful. So we'll just get our model to, there we go. All right, and so what you'll see is that f2.8 with the flash at half power at 1/125th gives you a shot that's essentially completely blown out. That is too bright. That is what I would call the 90s look. That's how we used to shoot in the 90s. Basically, when we were shooting film, you'd completely blow out someone's skin tone so that all you could see is the outline of the lips and basically their eyes. But if you do that with digital, once you blow out the highlights in digital, you can't actually rescue them. So it's important that you get a decent skin tone. So half power is too high. So what I like to do is start at half power and then work my way down. Now I know that with my light meter, 11 at ISO 400, 1/125th, 11.5 too high. So I'm going to bring that right down. So at half power, I'm going to bring it down to a 16th power, and we'll try that, and we'll take another reading. So at a 16th power, if I do a test, that's giving me f5.6, right? It's still too bright, so we're going to reduce the power again. So we're at a 16th power. I'm going to go to 1/64th power. So I can change that setting from my camera. And let's have a look at that through the, we'll just do that as a shot.
It's still at 16.
Now?
64.
Yeah, let's try that. So this is now 1/64th power, just a bit higher than Noah. That's it. Did that fire?
Yep.
All right, so that's looking pretty nice, and I'll just, we'll get a reading of that, and I'll show you. That should be around exactly just a little bit higher than f2.8, maybe half a stop over. So can you just... All right, it's 2.8.5. So my base setting is f2.8, 1/125th at 400 ISO. With the flash setting is 2.8.5. It's half a stop brighter. Here's the trick. I don't change anything on the camera. I'm leaving everything exactly the same. My settings, when I shoot this, are going to be f2.8, 400 ISO, 1/125th of a second. The camera is going to take my base exposure and leave it, and the skin tone is going to be half a stop brighter. So I'm adding light to the shot. And the way that people get confused is they think they need to change their settings to f2.8.5. So you just keep everything the same, and I've just lifted the skin tone by half a stop. So let's have a look at how that looks. All right. So straight down the barrel. That's it. Nice. Just a bit higher there, Noah. That's it. All right, and so there we have, all it's done is half a stop extra light on the face. And you can see before, that's our base exposure, right, without light. And here it is lit. So you can just see that it's just cleaned up that face, and also the ambient light now is creating the shadows around his jawline and giving him a much stronger jawline and like nice beautiful definition. So it's just building up that shot. So we can take it further and sculpt that face a bit more by we can now eliminate the background and create something really moody from there. All right, so the way to eliminate all the ambient light is we can what you want to do a test exposure first, and I continue to drop my aperture or increase my aperture. So I want to be like I'm going from f2.8 to something around f11. Basically what I want to do is reduce the amount of light that's hitting the frame, hitting my camera sensor, until I've got a black image. You can see that the sun's still outside, it's bright, we're getting light bouncing off the building and coming in here, and it's kind of brightly lit. But if you're in an environment where you don't like the background, or you want to create something moody, you need to learn how to get rid of the ambient light in the shot. So first of all, what I'm going to do is lower my ISO, because the higher the ISO, the greater the sensitivity to light. Okay, so I've gone from 400 to 100. That's going to reduce the amount of light my camera is sensitive to. And then I can't change my shutter speed because my camera syncs, the highest shutter speed is 1/200th of a second. I can't go any higher, but I can change the aperture. So here you can see that I'm stopping down. So I started at 2.8 and my camera will stop down in third stop increments, and I'm going to keep going until my image is completely black and I've effectively killed all the ambient in the shot. That's going to change the look of the shot, but if I'm going to have a dark background, I can increase my aperture and have something around f8, f11, f16. Nice moody background, completely changed the vibe of the shot. So we've gone from lovely lifestyle, soft lighting, to something a bit more edgier with a lot nicer shape that could look like it was a studio shot. So I'm going to turn my flash off, and I'm working through my aperture till I get something that the background is completely black. So I'll start with ISO 100, 200th of a second, f5.6, and that gets me something that's pretty close. In fact, I can barely see, I can just see Paul. I've almost gotten rid of all my ambient light. I might go up to f8 just for good measure. All right, pretty much gotten rid of, the scene is black. There's nothing there. So now I can add light to my shot. So my base setting, ISO 100, f8, 1/200th of a second. We're going to add light from above, and the ISO 100, the aperture is f8 and the shutter speed is 200. My power on the flash is at 1/4 power, and we're going to have the light is flat above and just kind of tilted. Noel will just open it up, that's it. So it's lighting, basically, because it's a beauty light, it's just lighting that kind of triangle around the face. So let's have a look at how that looks. There he is there. That's nice. And that's kind of cool looking. But he looks like a floating head in a sea of black. All right? So we need to build from that. So we can add a little bit more light. So I'm just going to go up, back to half power. All right, ready? Just a bit higher, Noah, that's it. All right. So we can see that that's starting to look good, but because I've killed all the ambient in the background of the shot, I'm starting to pick up a bit of the silver there that you can see. It's starting to look good, but we need to fill back. Okay, so at half power, it just wasn't, like the skin tone still looked muddy to me. So I've gone up to full power and it's given a really beautiful light to the face. So you're seeing that the face is lit up. Our background is kind of moody, and then we've just got that lovely bone structure coming through. So now we can actually work with that and reflect some light back in and just give a really nice, high quality, high production look. And it's basically a speed light, a portable beauty dish, that could be an octabox or a softbox would work, and then a reflector reflecting the light back in. So let's have a go at that. Let's add a reflector into that shot. So I'll just get you to hold that. And so now we've got like a classic butterfly style of lighting. So we've got the light coming from the face and it's bouncing back, kicks a nice little catch light into the eyes, and you get a really lovely look. So let's have a look at that. And that looks amazing. So we've picked up, like, have a look at the eyes, the lovely sparkle you get in the eyes. So catch light there, catch light underneath. It fills in all this area as well. And the silver gives a really nice sheen and reflection to the face. And we've also given him a really nice bone structure as well. So I think that's looking pretty cool. So we'll take a few shots of that and go from there. So we'll just go back to, that's it, that's nice. So just push your face forward a bit, Paul, that's nice. That's lovely. The only problem with shooting with speed lights, and this is the one reason I don't like them if you're doing high volume, high end, you're trying to do studio style lighting like this, is when they're at full power, the recycle time is really slow. So it's like 2 or 3 seconds between frames. It doesn't feel like a lot until you're actually on set trying to fill in 3 seconds with someone you don't know. And just in case you don't know what that looks like, I'm going to show you how long 3 seconds is, and we'll pad out with small talk. Already? All right, so I'm going to take the shot. Okay. All right, Paul, that's good. So I'm going to take this shot. That's great. And so I'm just waiting for my light to recycle, but that's going really good. And I'm now padding because I'm waiting for that. Oh, there it was. That's a long time. So the workaround is, if you insist on using speed lights, and you can pick them up for about $80 a pop compared to maybe 500 or 1,000 for a studio light, and speed lights, very light. So you can just throw them in your bag and you've got everything. So there's advantages, but in this scenario, they take a long time. So what you can do is have 2 speed lights doubled up into one light, and you put both at half power, half plus half equals 1, and you've got the same power, but each light is now working at half power. It doesn't need to have all that grunt. It won't take as long to recycle, so you'll halve your recycling time, and you should find that it snaps along. So that's the workaround. That's the one thing I don't like about speed lights. Aside from that, you can get a really nice shot. So I'll keep shooting this. All right, so that's nice. That's great. Waiting. It's a long time. There we go. And again, great. One more. Just take a half a step in. Thanks, Noah. That's it. And you can just drop down just a fraction lower. That's it. That's great. That's beautiful. That's the sweet spot right there. We'll just wait for the Oh, that's nice. All right, that looks fantastic. So there you go, that's building up using a reflector and a simple beauty dish, octobox, softbox, one speed light, very simple setup for a headshot.